Well, I've been asked several times to kind of do a walk around on my off road camper that is homemade, completely built from scratch, other than we purchased an axle. Um, it's been used now for about 7 years, so that it's been well tested. It's not just a theory. It's traveled to Moab twice. It's been down in Colorado. It's been to Wyoming and all over Montana, of course. And I primarily use it for camping as a base camp. I set it up and I can drop it and leave it. And I'll kind of show you some of the things that have worked really well for me and how we do that. And so I'm going to start with an outside review and just let you kind of know some of the things that I've done to it. So first off, I'll start on this corner and work my way around. This is where you fill the water tank. I have a 17-gallon water tank inside of here, and I use this to hook the hose into, and it has a valve on it to open and shut, and when it's open, you can fill it. And then this is the spout for releasing the water. Of course, it's empty right now, but that gives me 17 gallons of water, basically, for the trail. Now, everything about this thing is hand-cut, hand-built, so there's things on it that I purposely left rustic. At one time, you'll see these hinges on here. Before I had the rooftop tent on here, I used this, and I would throw it open to get the gear in and out. Even though it does have a back door, it just was something I did. And now that I have the rooftop tent, these hinges kind of aren't used anymore. So it's lightweight. It's made of the expansion metal. And the inside here is a plastic like this. It's just a heavy-duty rubber flooring stuff, and it's been on there 6 years, and it doesn't leak. Some of this stuff, like the tent spikes, are just extra ones. I put them on there because they, I don't know, to just kind of give it that look. You know what I mean? It's not really... how often do you need two tent spikes? But on the other hand, there's two tent spikes there if I do need them. So I do have level gauges on it. Of course, right now it's not being leveled. It's just sitting on the floor. But the bubbles, I got one for going that way and one for going this way. Down underneath, I have these power grippers. And I have a military shovel that's gripped on here. And that's just one of the things. And I have a hatchet back here. You can kind of see it gripped. Underneath, originally, you can kind of tell that these fenders, if you ever saw it in any of my old videos, the fenders were under here and there were smaller tires on it. And for the opportunity, I can put up to 35-inch tires on it now. With these fenders, the opportunity to have bigger tires on it and a different axle on it, move the tires out, and it also gave me an opportunity to use that to mount a shock. And the shock uses this plate that comes right off the leaf spring, has a mount on it, and then these are the adjustable Rancho RS 9000s, and they're a little tight. However, it hasn't been a problem yet. We'll have to see long term if there's any problems. I just put those on last year. Other than that, it's running Jeep rims. These are stock JK rims with 16-inch size. However, they're not hub-centric anymore in the sense that I had to drill the hub out a little bit so that my greasable hubs go through there. So that was one thing. This table I'll show you later. This is actually the cooking table, and the stove fits on here. And this wing nut idea, it actually helps with the stove. When I hook it up there, what keeps the stove on here, no matter how big or heavy the pots I put on it, is this wing nut actually helps. I can run that against the back of it, and so even if the stove gets bumped or something, it doesn't get moved. But I'll show you that as the video goes on. Fenders, they're strong enough to stand on. You can get up on top of these for loading. And all of the cutouts were done by my son. He's a metal worker, and so we got an elk, and we have across. And because I'm a pastor, and this is always part of my life, it has been for a long, long time, he cut this out for me on the side. And then, of course, he did this on the back, which is playing off a scripture verse that says that broad is the road that leads to destruction, but narrow is the way that leads to life, and fewer they are who travel it. So it's the road less traveled. So KC light for camp setup, and I got the switch here for it. This, because my kitchen is right here, this is an old shower bar. I put it on here to hang towels and stuff on when I'm cooking and such, and that's what it's for. All around, I have rings and things positioned for good places to hook tarps, to hook ropes and things, because I do a lot of camping where there's not campsites per se, and it might be super handy to have a tarp running off here or off there, or have something. And so I have these all over just for that purpose. This back gate opens up. I'll show you that later. This is also lockable. We have the whole trailer is lockable. Everything on it I can shut down, lock up, and leave it in a parking lot, and nobody can access it without cutting locks. This is the sort of clearance we have underneath. As you can see, even with only 33-inch tires on there, it has plenty of clearance underneath the axle. I haven't went to 35s yet, mostly because I was going to wear these out. And they're getting down there now. After, I think there's probably 7,000 or 8,000 miles on them now. Waterproof tail lights. This side, we continue with my son's little Easter egg things that he built. We got a fish and we got a Jeep there. These containers here are for the back of fishing rods, which I find work great. And then the fishing rod, I can hang the reels right here, and I can run the reels all the way up and through and out the front here. And they stay perfectly fine for 99% of the trails we do. However, if I get into a real muddy trail, I have found that if the fenders can't stop the mud, they'll end up on the back of the poles, and then you got a mess. Same thing all the way around, built out of expanded steel. Here we have the grippers again and a full-size Husky axe there. This is the power inverter. If you pop this open, this gets you right into where I have plug-ins for a power inverter. This is a battery gauge, so I can monitor the battery that's in here. This is a plug-in for the solar power. You can plug the solar power into this and charge your battery while it's sitting, while you're camping. And that's all stuff that I designed there. Spare tire. And here you can see more clearly how I had to drill out the center hole to make it accommodate these particular rims. This is actually the stock carrier from the back of a JK, and when I put a different carrier on, I just saved this thing, and I mounted it up here. You can shake the whole vehicle, the whole thing with it. It's really solid, but I have a full-size spare tire for the trailer. On the front, I have a bow saw that is also locked behind here. That would be one thing. Nobody's taken any of the axes or hatchets or anything, but they really can't be locked up. Everything else is locked up. Nobody's stolen those other things. So here on the front, you can see these are 5-gallon cans, and I bought the green ones because they were on sale instead of red ones, but I really didn't have a reason to get the green. Also lockable, and then in this box is the funnels and stuff for the cans, so you can just pop them out. They're right handy at the front. What else is on the front? I guess that's about it. We got just an adjustable stand. Right now, we've only been using this for even off-road use, and it's been working fine. We've never lost the trailer or had it come off, but I know it would be possible to. Most of the time where we're taking the camper, it isn't really strong off-road. This is a spare box that I keep extra oil and stuff like that in, and tools. And again, it's all locked. All the stuff's locked with the same key. Can lock it all up. And these are trinkets that I got for my birthday or for Christmas from family. And of course, I didn't have anywhere to put them, so I just stuck them there. I think this is something to do with Pokemon. And that's a hand-carved thing with my name on it. Anyway. That's the outside, and then I'll set a few things up and we'll talk about it some more. If you've never seen the Smitty-built tent, it looks like all of the other rooftop tents. In fact, I have friends that have the other brands, and all the windows are cut the same, all the bars look exactly the same. I wouldn't be surprised to find that they're all made at the same place. The Smitty-built tent, I've had that also for quite a few years now. It's never leaked on me, never been a problem. So it works great. One thing I do like about it, the way it's set up now, so it opens up and the door, of course, would be on this side. And I have a window. The window then opens over the top of this side. This window only partially opens in the back because of this container. And we put this here for a couple of reasons. One is inside here, you see all these, I don't know if you can see all these poles. This is a canopy that I use when I'm camping, and so using that in tarps, I'm able to make, if you will, a large camping area over my cooking area or back here. And I just find good trees and I run my tarp off to it and use those poles. Also, back inside here, you'll see it's my propane for my stove. I can hook it up right on top, and on this side I have a hole that comes out, and so it feeds right into the stove right through here. So I can just reach up and turn the valve on or off from the top, and that works that way. This is miscellaneous. The idea of having this big box on here is for every different trip I could use different things. So there's been times I put my mat tracks in there. I got those back there. There's been times I've put my chainsaw in there. The idea was hunting. I could throw a deer back inside this thing. So the whole purpose for this giant bin on top, and it's made out of aluminum and steel. The whole purpose for this thing was just to be versatile. I can put whatever I want in there, and it doesn't affect my storage. Inside this is filled with the rest of the storage, and I'll show you that here in a minute. All right, you can see this is it when it's open, and I just made these wood drawers, and like this is my table. I can put whatever I want in these drawers. They got some insulation in the bottom to keep things from rattling. Just it's filled with paper, garbage sacks, just stuff that I keep in the trailer all the time. I got wheel chocks in this one, the trailer jacks, which I'll show you how I use those here in a little bit. And the other space, you can see I can fit these two coolers. They'll fit here and here. And then I have all this room back here for even more storage bins. I just wanted to show you how much storage room there actually is. So there's two of those plano boxes, and I'll pull them out. And there's two of these clear boxes, and I'll pull them out so you can kind of see how much storage this trailer actually has. Before you get back to the battery and the 17 gallons of water, I have a lot of room in it. Here you can kind of see what I did with my stove, where I cut the hole in it here. And this hole and this hinge, I cut a slot in it to put on here. And it is sitting on that shelf, which is folded down. It gives me the ability to put some pretty heavy weights on here, especially if this is tightened up all the way. I can put a big pot on here and it can boil away. And I don't have to worry about anything falling off or getting knocked off. This is solid when it's all fastened down. And that works great. And that's a Camp Chef stove. It's been very reliable, by the way. That's a good brand if you are looking for a good one. Down here, this is the way I lock the trailer up when I'm leaving it, and I can sleep in it and camp in it, even if it's not attached to the vehicle. And I'll show you what I do. I put wheel chocks. When I get it set and leveled, I'll put wheel chocks under each side, and I have a whole set of these for the other side. And then I use these spring these on the trailer springs, and I can adjust them up or down. And I'll get those set real solid in the dirt on each spring on both sides. There'll be one on each side, these camper jacks. And those will hold everything in place. I've had 2 people sleeping up in there. You can open the door, you can get around, you can do everything. Wind can blow. It doesn't move at all. And the tent, of course, would be opened at that time, so you can leave the tent open out here and have it all jacked like this, and everything's level and sitting, and it just works for a great base camp. Figured I'd show you one other thing on this side. This is what I was talking about, the way the fishing poles ride. You can see you slide the handle back in there, slide the tip through this end, and then I got a clip in the middle, and then I'll usually snap these over the top of it so it doesn't have anywhere to go, or I got a bungee I can put on them there. And that brings your fishing poles along too, gets them out of the way. I don't know how many of you have broken your fishing pole on a 4-wheel drive trip by creative ways of mounting them outside of your vehicle or in the vehicle and have them get slammed in a door. But this is a way. I put them back here, and it keeps. This thing got painted after we built it. We just spray painted it with every can we had in here, so it kind of came out like a calico blue, tan, gray, silver, black thing. And this last year, I ended up getting a can from a garage sale of Rhino liner in a can, and I just went ahead and coated all of the metal in Rhino liner, and I had enough for a couple of coats on everything, so we'll see how that holds up. So it's all black now except for, and I haven't washed anything since the last time I had it out, but it is. Oh, this is another compartment I made. I didn't show you inside this, but I just didn't want there to be any unused space, so over the top of the water tank, since there was a void up there, I cut a hole in the side, put a full shelf in. This shelf also goes down the water tank in the front, probably a good 8 inches. So the water tank sits back here with a floor brace, this over the top of it, then this is screwed in. And so this whole shelf going across here also holds the water tank from bouncing up and down. And it just sits in there. So if you were to come look in this top bin, it is, you can see that the bottom is such that I can wash it out. So if I were to take it hunting and get a deer in here, and you could put a whole deer in here really easy, just drop its back in here. All it takes is a hose, and you can spray it, and everything goes right out the bottom. Now I do have a rubber mat that I lay over the top of this in the bottom, and that just keeps things from rattling. Here's the hookup for the propane tank. You can see I can hang it on here, and I can actually lock it in, and that keeps it mounted solid. I just have this net hooked up on hooks. I'll probably be replacing it because this one has seen 6 years of use. But the other things that I've put back here, I got a couple of ARB chairs there, camp chairs. I can throw my camp chairs in here. They fit just fine. I can put, if I needed to put sleeping bags or anything else that didn't fit in the bottom, I could put them up here. And this little light here, these are by KC. Those are awesome little lights. They're not very expensive. In fact, I think I bought lights and they gave this one to me free. And I think that's what I'll eventually get and put on the inside too, because boy, they are really, really bright for what they are, just little LEDs. Anyway, that just shows you everything about this trailer. It can be downced, washed, cleaned. There's the rack back up in place. The whole idea is it can rain on this while you're going down the road. Some of you might know on your tents, there's a vulnerable spot when you fold it over, the back of the cushion is exposed. And so what I did on mine is on the aluminum, and I don't think you can really see, oh, you can see it. I mounted a tarp that covers, that sandwiches between these two sections, and I have it glued down on each side, so that keeps water off the bottom of the mattress in that spot. I don't know if all the brands are that way, but I think they all are from what I've seen, is when you fold this over, your actually memory foam mat is exposed here. So I laid a piece of tarp in there, cut it to size, glued it in on that side, then glued it in on the other side. And that's also been in there 4 or 5 years now, and it just keeps, this is waterproof. So I mean, it probably can't be submerged, but in any rainstorm or anything I'm in, this, I can get there and set up a dry tent. And as you know, that is half the battle to staying warm when you're camping. So yeah, and this thing, I didn't mention these straps, besides holding this on tight, which is great, when the tent's actually folded down, a lot of you are familiar with the awnings and stuff that are on them. These straps can actually come around to the front of where it's held down on each side and actually help hold it down. Like, so say if you were in a really big windstorm, it would keep that thing from flopping and bouncing around, because those straps, by the time you get them out here on the front where the end of the tent is and stretch them out, it just is an added little bit of security to keep them from flopping. The other thing I might mention, just because if you don't live in Montana, this isn't something you think about. We have grizzly bears here. And so one nice thing about this setup is that helps you sleep at night a little bit is when you fold your tent out, besides being high up off the ground, I usually sleep with my feet towards the front of the tent. But as you can see, I have a lot of protection back here. I can lay there. I got a window I can hear. I got the tire and the rack and everything covering where my head's at. And it gives me a safe place where I can guard the tent. You might think that's silly, but I think last year Montana had something like 16 or 18 grizzly attacks. And so it's something that we think about in Montana. You just always want to do what you can to keep yourself safe. So that's about it.